We praise God in lots of different ways. We praise God with music. We praise God with prayer. I see a few people in the room who enjoy praising God with art. And as I was thinking about this week's Torah portion, I thought a lot about what it means to be an artist. I took my son, Rabbi, last week, he's 5, to the pottery place just at 132nd near Center. I think it's called It's Yours Pottery, something like that. And he picked out a unicorn to paint because he's in his unicorn phase of life. And he picked out his colors. It was, this process, because of course you have to pick the exact right colors, and if not, it's a catastrophe. We got there were sparkle colors available, so all was good in the world. So we picked out these colors, we started to paint, and all of a sudden, he puts his brush and he puts a pink stroke right across the eye. And apparently that's not okay. You can't have a pink stroke of paint across the eye. He got very upset, and he asked me to wash it off and start over. And I had at that moment this very difficult inner monologue with myself, because I was like, well, I want him to be happy, and I understand the dilemma that you face by not getting it the exact right thing that you want, but what if this is a learning moment? What if I need to teach in this moment that it's okay to make mistakes, and that it's okay to want to start something different, but that maybe that pink could be inspiration for something that you never thought of before? And then after a moment of thinking about this, I said, okay, well, it's your choice. I can wash it off, sure, I can get a wet washcloth or a wet paper towel and I could take it off. Or do you think maybe the eyes might want to be pink? Maybe this is an opportunity to think about eyes as a different color. And in the end, he did not want that. He really wanted it to be off. But I tried, right? And so I've been thinking a lot about that, because he reminds me so much of myself when I was younger. As a perfectionist in a lot of ways, and also an artist, I really struggled with that impulse of, I want it to be perfect. I want to start this whole thing over. I have to erase everything I've done. I need a clean sheet of paper. I want to paint this all white and start over again. And it was that push and pull. And what I eventually came to realize is that part of art is actually imperfection. There is a certain degree of expertise that it takes to make something exactly picture perfect. And most people don't have that. So to strive for it is almost futile in a way. But what makes really good art amazing is if you look for the ways that it is unique and different from every other person's technique and painting style, or watercolor style, or pencil style, what have you. And all of the famous artists that we know, for the most part, have those mistakes and imperfections, and that's what makes them beautiful. And in the story of Noah, which is this week's Torah portion, I think we see a little bit of that push and pull, right? This is very early on in our story, and God creates humanity, and what it says is that humanity was completely evil and unethical, right? There was a society of people who were not good people, and what happens in that moment? God almost takes an eraser in some ways and says, this is not good, I'm going to erase this. And instead, it's not an eraser, but it is a flood that's going to erase all of humanity and the world as we know it. And we have to start again, except for one family and 2 by 2 of each animals. Apparently the animals were okay. We were good with all of the different parts of creation, but humanity was not of the caliber and quality of righteousness that God wanted from human beings, except for Noah, who God said was righteous in his generation. And in our text as it goes on, and we learn the story of the flood, and we know what it means to be on this boat, this ark, in a very confined space that I can only imagine is quite smelly and dark and damp. We have this immersion from the ark, and the world is created anew, and God regrets having destroyed humanity. And in that moment of regret, God makes a promise to the people. God makes a promise to Noah and says that God will never again destroy humanity. And in chapter 9, it says that we are going to receive a sign of God's covenant that is going to be for all generations and all time, the symbol of God's covenant with humanity. And what it says is, my bow, I have set it in the clouds, and it shall be a sign and the covenant between me and earth, so that whenever I bring clouds over the earth and the bow appears in the cloud, I will remember that my covenant is between me and you and every living soul that is all flesh, and water shall never again become a deprivation of life to destroy all flesh. The bow shall be in the cloud, I will see it, and I will remember the everlasting covenant between God and every soul and every living being that is upon the earth. And then God says to Noah, this is the sign of the covenant that I've established between me and all living beings on this earth. And of course, this is the rainbow. And this is why it is such a popular children's story, right? There's animals and there's a rainbow. But the rainbow is much more than just a beautiful symbol in the sky. And commentators for generations have been wondering, what is it about the rainbow that is so important in this moment? Rabbi Samson Raphael Hirsch gives kind of a summary of a lot of different pieces, and also he puts his own unique spin on it that I think is particularly poignant and profound for us. So I'd like to share his thoughts with you. Rabbi Hirsch says that commentators have taken various approaches. Some see the rainbow as a reversed weapon, a bow with its strings towards the earth, which is a symbol of peace, implying that no more arrows will be shot from heaven and earth. Others perceive it as an arc linking heaven and earth, hence that is a symbol of the bond between the heavens and the earth. Still others point out that the rainbow is woven of light and water. Light appears in the midst of ominous clouds, signifying that even when the attribute of strict justice prevails, the world endures by God's grace. These are some of the other commentaries that Rabbi Hirsch is sharing with us. And now this is where he gets to his thoughts. He says, but perhaps there is an even closer connection between the colors of the rainbow and all of the foregoing. From now on, God's mode of rule will be as follows. No matter what the nuances of humankind's future development, God will never again decree the destruction of the human race. Rather, on the basis of these very nuances and the diversity of human beings, God will educate humankind toward the divine goal. A rainbow is essentially one unified, complete ray of light in its purest form, broken up into 7 colors. These colors range from the red ray, which is closest to the light, to the violet, which is furthest from the light, and it merges into darkness. Yet they are all shades of light, and together they form one white ray, which shines forth in its purity. This signifies that the whole infinite variety of living things, from Adam, coming from Adom, which means red, who is closest to God, to lower forms of life like the lowly worm, and especially the whole spectrum of humanity. We are all united by God in one common bond of peace, and in all of them is found a refracted ray of God's Spirit. And I think that this, to us, in this time and in this place, in the world that we live in, the reminder that the rainbow is not just a symbol of peace, but it is a symbol that we are to be in partnership with each other, because it takes all of the diverse parts of humanity and all of our shapes and forms and colors and races and ethnicities, all of our different thoughts and opinions and values. They are all represented in this rainbow. It takes every single one of us to make the full spectrum of God's light. And that, in so many ways, is the promise that is being symbolized by the rainbow, that it takes every part of humanity to be in partnership with God. And rainbow is one half of a circle. And we, in all of the infinite diversity of humanity, are one half of that partnership, and it takes God to create the other. But without both of those, and if one single color of light would be missing, it would not be a complete rainbow. And I think that that is so much of what we need to remember in the world that we live in today. It takes every single one of us to create that rainbow. It takes every single one of us to fulfill that covenant, to bring joy and gratitude and peace into the world around us. And as we go into this week where there's so many things that can stand to cause diversity and strife, division and strife, thank you, not diversity, it's kind of the opposite of that. Division and strife between us. The rainbow in this week, on this Shabbat, before we have to remember that we have to find the common humanity, because all of the colors have to be represented. Shabbat Shalom.